Hey everyone, it's Matt up at the church. Just wanted to come and give you an update on some things that are coming up here. I haven't done an update here in the last few weeks because there hasn't really been any new information, but we have some new information today, and so we want to communicate that with you as best we can. I know a lot of people are talking about transitioning back in and wondering when that's going to happen, and so I want to just speak to that a little bit today in this video update. And so and as well, at the end of this, please hang on through the end of this. I have a couple requests for you all to consider at the end of this video. So please hang on until the end. So the leadership team and myself have been working through transition plans on how do we properly and safely reopen North Christian Church as things are starting to open up around the state and certainly around our city. We want to kind of talk through and give you the plan a little bit of what we're trying to do and what we're expecting as we continue on. And so need to preface kind of this conversation with a few things. First thing is this: above all, please know that we miss you. Please know that we miss being with you on Sundays. We miss seeing people. We miss gathering together as we have been for so long. We love you. We miss you. We want to get back to that, but also understand that we really want to do this well and we want to do this correctly. And so with that, we are trying to take the safest, most appropriate route in order to handle this and do this. Number two, kind of second preface. We have been and will continue to be committed to following whatever the directives are, either from Governor Gordon or from state and local authorities, whether that be health department or otherwise. And so we are staying true to that, even if we don't necessarily agree with what's being said. We as an organization, as a church, are going to be committed to following whatever those directives are. Number three, preface. Please understand, this is going to be a slow process. It is not going to be a flip of a light switch in order to get back meeting together. It is a slow process. Some are going to want us to move faster. Some are going to want us to move slower. Some are going to believe that we're moving too quickly. In all of this, we are doing what we believe is appropriate and best for our church and for our people here at North. Number four, it's going to be easy for us to look around the city and to compare at what's going on around us. My advice for that is to not do that. Let us not fall into the habit or tendency of looking at what other churches are doing, jumping on social media or calling up friends who maybe go somewhere else and trying to compare what we do to other people. We are unique. Other churches are unique. We have different situations. We have different logistics. We have different ministry setups. I mean, everything is different. Everything is unique. And so it's going to be a dangerous game if we get into the habit of comparing what we are doing or what our plan is going to be versus what other churches' plans around the city are going to be. And finally, the last kind of preface is, above all, as things start opening up, you have the power and the right to stay home if you are uncomfortable with what's going on. If you're sick, we ask you to stay home. If somebody in your house is sick, please encourage them to stay home. If your child is sick, please keep them home. That needs to be understood. And then beyond that, if you're just uncomfortable, if you're not sure about coming out in public yet, stay home. Please stay home. We're going to work hard to make sure that you at home still have a worship experience. And so we're doing everything we can to make that happen. And so I want to talk through a reopening document that we are making available to you. If you're watching this from the email that was sent out, please see the document that's attached within the email. I'm also going to link it in the YouTube video here. It will also be linked on the homepage of our website as well. Please go through, read the document. I'm not going to read it to you. I'm just going to kind of hit some highlights, but please go read it. And then if you have questions after reading it, please get in touch with some of us. So a few bullet points from the document about reopening. First is this: please understand this is a very fluid document. Please understand that, as the nature of this virus has been changing over the last few months, as directives change from time to time, we kind of believe that our plan as of right now on May 13th, as I'm recording this, is going to need to change from time to time as well. And so this document is our plan based on where we are at right now. The date on the document is May 11th. That's when the elders kind of approved the plan. But understand it can change. It could change this week. It could change next week. It could change next month. Like, we just need to understand this is a fluid document. It is our plan to communicate with you as attenders and members of North Christian Church what is coming up immediately next. We're going to lay out the whole plan today, but going forward, we're going to communicate with you any changes that directly impact you for the next step only. We're not going to rework the entire plan every time a change happens. We're simply going to adapt as things come up. Number two, we are not tied to dates, and we are not even necessarily tied to any specific numbers necessarily. Two factors are going to determine when we transition and kind of do more things or allow more things at the church. Number one, directives and variances given by the governor as well as by the county health department. We cannot do anything outside of what they say, and so first things first, we have to be given permission in order to do that. Number two, second factor that will determine when and how we transition is our preparedness as a church to have gatherings based on whatever those regulations or rules or directives are from the governor or from the county health department. I mean, we have to understand there are just dozens and dozens of little behind the scenes logistics that have to get worked out before we can meet together as a church. We have to get teams in place. We have to get volunteers in place. We have to get cleaning procedures in place. We have to have policies in place that we've never had before. We have to figure out how to do what we're doing in person, as well as figure out how to live stream for people who are not comfortable coming to church or who just can't come to church. And so there are just a number of logistics that we have to work out before we're able to, one, start allowing people in church for Sunday morning service, and then continuing on those transitions down the line. Like I said before, it's not a light switch, unfortunately. We can't just flip it and be good to go. There are things that we have to work through. Number three, as best as we can share, I want to share with you kind of the progression that things are going to go. Again, we're not tied to these necessarily. This is fluid, but we have kind of framed this in a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 framework a little bit. And some of these are tied to specific numbers. Some of them are kind of tied to directives that are going to come down from Governor Gordon and whatnot. But we want to share with you as best as we can. And so phase 1, some believe we're in phase 1 right now. Some believe that we're actually pre-phase 1. I think it depends on who you ask. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. Phase 1 plan is no different than what we have been doing for the last several weeks. Phase 1 really is limiting gatherings no more than 10 people, and then social distancing, kind of all of that. We're not able to meet together as a church in that type of situation. And so whether we're in phase 1 now or we have yet to be into phase 1, it doesn't matter. We're still continuing on with not meeting in person. Understand this, though. We have the ability and the subscription to a program called Zoom, and Zoom allows people to gather together over their computers from their home and do things like Bible studies and care groups. My care group has been utilizing this basically from the get-go. Other care groups have been as well, and really it's been a good alternative to not meeting at all. And so if you're a part of a care group and you want to meet together and you haven't been, please let us know. We're happy to set this up for you and allow you to use the church's subscription to this. Step number 2, whenever that is, as soon as possible that we can move into phase 2. As you'll see on the document, we've kind of identified phase 2 as about 50 people being allowed to be in one place at one time. You get much less than that. It takes a certain number of people just to put on what we do for Sunday morning. And so our kind of number that we're sitting with right now as of Monday, May 11th is 50 people. And of course there will be social distancing required. And so once we kind of get into this phase, and once we as a church are ready to do this, we will begin offering an in-person service with diminished seating. Other things have to come into practice. Heightened cleaning procedures before and in between and after service. We have to be ready to do things like provide safe communion. We have to be able to facilitate offering in a safe and clean way. We have to work out the logistics to whether or not we serve things like coffee and cookies and whatnot. Care groups, Bible studies can continue to meet. If it's up to 50 people, then we get to meet together in person. If you're still comfortable or you're only comfortable meeting online, that's still an option as well. And during this kind of phase 2, up to 50 people or so, no children's ministry will be available on Sunday mornings. I don't know if you know this, but it's nearly impossible to social distance, elementary kids or nursery kids. It's just not possible. And so that will not be available. After that, and whenever we are kind of released to what we believe is phase 3, where we're given more variances beyond the 50 people, then we kind of transition a little bit. Much of the same of phase number 2 specifics will be there, and you'll see it on the document. Social distancing, we expect, will still be required. Maybe the distance is less. Maybe we can have more people in an area. We will still continue to provide in-person services, kind of following the rules that are given. We'll adapt with the variances. Larger groups should theoretically be able to meet. Groups larger than about 30 or 40, we're asking for the office to approve those gatherings. We want to know what's going on. We want to know what you're doing. We want to know how you're cleaning up after yourselves and disinfecting. And during phase 3, because we're still somewhat limited, and if social distancing is still required, there will be no children's ministry during that phase as well. And then we jump down to phase 4 on the document. You'll see this is kind of the new normal. Is kind of the words that are getting thrown around. This is really where we believe that directives are lifted. We're kind of getting, into kind of normalcy again. We can start offering full seating services. Children's ministry can start meeting together because social distancing won't be required. Communion and offering can kind of begin to happen as normal per service. Our services do those a little bit differently, and we'll start making decisions about coffee and refreshments being served in between services and whatnot during that time. And so I know that's very vague. Please, again, look at the document. If you have questions or concerns after reading the document, please reach out to us. We want to talk through that document a little bit with you and answer any of those questions that you may have. Here's kind of how communication is going to go. Communication for when we transition and what's kind of coming up and what you need to know moving from phase to phase is going to happen primarily either through YouTube videos like this, through email. We're putting it out on Facebook as well. And so if you know people who aren't getting these, who don't have email or don't have YouTube or whatever, please help spread the word and please help communicate as best you can. When we move into our very first weekend of meeting in person, please know we will make one phone call over our phone calling system that calls everybody that we have numbers for. We will do that one time going into the first week, it just so everybody gets that information. And when a transition happens, when we believe that we can do things a little bit different, we'll do the best we can to notify you, either through email, Facebook, YouTube, or even just standing up on stage on a Sunday morning if we're in service. And again, if you have questions or concerns through all this, please reach out, contact us. We would love to talk to you. And so that's very quickly going over a lot of information. Again, please read the document for the specifics. 2 big requests of you before I let you go here right now. Number 1 is this. When we do get back to meeting in person, we know, especially right out of the gate, there are going to be some expectations that we have higher levels of cleaning happening before, after, and during our services. In order for us to facilitate this, we need to have volunteers that are really willing to step up and help disinfect key areas of the church. And so this is going to be going on for a while. And so we want to set up teams. We believe, kind of where we're at right now, that about 4 people per cleaning time. And so 4 people before first service, 4 people in between services, and possibly 4 people after second service is what we're going to need in order to adequately disinfect the correct areas of our church, and we want to set up a rotation as well. And so if you're somebody who is willing to kind of step into this on a rotation basis and help, we have a link that is going to be embedded in the video here, as well as on the email, as well as online on our website. Please go to that link, fill out a very, very simple form. It's just saying, hey, my name is this, I'm willing to help. And if you have any comments or specifics, please input that into that form. And then we will be in communication with you when the time comes to set up those teams. That's request number one. Request number two, unconnected to all this, one of our ministries that's still continuing to go on is Feed a Family. Feed a Family has continued on for the last couple months, still handing out bags out of the Salvation Army. Because of some changes that are happening within that ministry, they are in need of some additional people to help. Specifically, they are in need of somebody or some buddies to help take on the grocery shopping portion of the prep work for Feed a Family. People go out and they shop the sales, they go out and buy the food that then gets packed into the bags, and they need somebody or some buddies to help step in and take that role. And so if you are interested and willing to do that, please contact us. They're in need of that as soon as possible. Feed a Family is coming up, I believe, next week at the time that I'm recording this now. And so if you are interested in helping with that, please either contact the church office or contact Deb Dolph directly and let them know that you are interested in helping. So again, with all of this, you have questions, you have concerns, please contact us. We would love to talk with you, and we will do everything we can to communicate thoroughly and efficiently over the coming weeks and months as things progress and change, and allow us to meet back in person. And so hang in there. Time is coming, hopefully soon, where we can meet back in person. Understand, we miss you. We look forward to seeing you again. Thanks for watching.